It's not selfish to prioritize yourself first. It's an act of self-love and communicating through your words and your actions that you matter, you are important, and you are worthy of having your needs addressed. I'm going to be talking all about why you need to prioritize yourself first, along with how to get past the blocks that might come up when you start to think about prioritizing yourself and your needs. Welcome to Calmly Coping. I'm your host, Tati Garcia. I'm a licensed therapist and a high-functioning anxiety coach. Calmly Coping is the podcast for people who struggle with anxiety and high-functioning anxiety. Each Wednesday, you'll hear informative episodes with actionable tips about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy so you can live a calm and balanced life. Let's get started. This is episode number 47, Why You Need to Prioritize Yourself First. Welcome back, and welcome if you're a first-time listener. Thank you so much for tuning in. When you struggle with high-functioning anxiety or anxiety in general, it's so easy to put your needs last. Your mindset can be so driven by fear of the what-ifs that you're more in survival mode than in the space of recognizing your needs. And here's the problem with that. It becomes an endless cycle. The less you're taking care of yourself, the more anxious and overwhelmed you're going to feel. And here's why. So reason number one is because of energy management and your mental wellness. So these are both finite resources. When you're not recharging or managing your energy or taking the time and space to care for your mental health and your emotional wellness, then you absolutely will become depleted and have nothing left to give. So that's why it's so important to prioritize yourself so that you're able to refill those energy sources and care for your mental health and wellness. Because just like caring for your physical health through exercising or eating well, taking care of your mental and emotional wellness is a regular thing. It's something that you need to do on a regular basis in order to ensure that you're caring for your needs. Here's another reason why it's important to prioritize yourself first. So it's all about modeling. And this is when you are showing others how to do things. So that's essentially the definition of modeling. It's like, let's say if you're teaching somebody how to drive a car, you're going to get in the car and drive it and show them how you do it. That's modeling. So prioritizing yourself is a great way of modeling your self-worth to those around you. So this is especially true for children, but also friends, family, significant others. And they'll treat you accordingly, according to how you're modeling that for others. So you're teaching your children, for example, how to prioritize and care for themselves, but you're also teaching them how to treat you because you're demonstrating that you're worthy of having your needs taken care of. Here's another reason why it's important to prioritize yourself. So anxiety can come about when you're focusing more on other people's needs and wishes than your own. So this happens when you get stuck in that place of people pleasing and feeling like I need to do what's better for others before myself. And you might feel this internal tension because you're not respecting your own wishes, further deepening those feelings of dread, worry, and unease. So this is when there is that discrepancy between what you feel like you should do versus what you actually want to do. And this is not saying that you should be disrespecting the needs of others or ignoring the needs of others, but it's when you're faced with situations where you're doing things solely from a place of guilt or from a place of, I'm going to do this because I don't want this person to be mad at me or because I want them to like me. These are coming from different places, and hopefully you're able to understand that. So that difference between, am I doing things because I want to and because it's important for me to care for my children or my significant other or my family member or friends, or is it that, there is this real discrepancy between like, I really don't want to do this, but I'm afraid what's going to happen if I don't. Another reason why it's important to prioritize yourself is that nobody else is going to do it for you. Only you know what you need. And you may not know exactly what that is right now and in every moment, and that's okay. It's a journey and a process of listening to yourself and respecting yourself. So here are some common blocks or resistance that may come up when you start to think about prioritizing yourself first. And this is something that I often hear from clients and from students. So one thing is that it's selfish. But here's the thing. As long as you're being respectful and not dismissing the needs of others, like I said previously, then it's not selfish. How is it selfish to take care of yourself? It's not selfish because you deserve to be taken care of, because you have this life here as a human and you're not here solely to serve others. And let's say hypothetically, if you felt like you were, you cannot serve and help others without caring for yourself first. It's just common knowledge. And the metaphor that I like to use that it's possible you might have heard before is if you're flying in a plane and they always give you that safety training before the flight that states if the cabin pressure dips or oxygen levels fall in the plane, then a face mask is going to fall from the ceiling, like with oxygen flowing through it. And they tell you to always put your mask on first before helping others. Because the fact is, if you try to put the mask on others before putting it on yourself, then you could pass out before you're able to help them. The same applies in life. You're not going to have enough left in you if you're caring for others before your own needs, and that's not selfish. It's just reality. So another common block or resistance that people might feel, that you might feel when it comes to prioritizing yourself first, are those feelings of guilt that come up. So the guilt regarding prioritizing yourself. So you might feel guilty that like, okay, well, as a parent, it's not right for me to focus on myself. Like I should be caring for my kids first. Or let's say if you're at work, then you might feel guilt that, well, I have to focus on my job. This is what I'm here for. I have to put time and effort into my relationship or my clients. So you might feel guilty, let's say, taking breaks or taking time for yourself or wanting to be by yourself. And this is common. And this can be especially common if you've been raised to focus on others first. So maybe you saw this behavior in your parents or in your grandparents, that they were constantly giving and caring for others and not focusing on their own needs. And, it's important to recognize this and to see, is this something that you've learned because it's been, occurred through your family generationally, or is it, societal pressure that makes you feel this guilt that you're comparing yourself to other professionals online or other parents and seeing what they're doing and then doubting yourself? It's important to recognize this guilt and realize that you're feeling this guilt because you care. So you're feeling this guilt because you want to be a good worker or you want to be a good parent. But this guilt isn't serving you. So I think a good way to look at guilt is to question, how is this guilt helping me? Is it helping me be a better parent to feel guilty? Is it helping me be a better worker to feel guilty? Is this a form of trying to punish myself because I feel like I shouldn't be taking care of myself first? What purpose does this guilt serve, if any? And, I think in questioning that, then you may find that this guilt isn't helping you. It's not helping the people around you or the people that you help. It's only hurting you and it's only making you feel worse. And so, it's important to recognize that you feel this guilt because you want to do well and because you want to care for and help others, but it's no longer serving you. And recognize that, whether it's parent guilt or work guilt or whatever might be coming up, it's possible to let go of this guilt and it's not going to have a negative impact on who you are as a person or on how other people view you. So other common blocks and resistance that might come up are this question of like, well, how can I care for others if I'm always focusing on myself? And so this is a false dichotomy, this idea that You can only focus on others or only focus on yourself, that it's all or nothing, either or, and that our minds do this to simplify things and oversimplify things. But the reality is these things aren't mutually exclusive. You can care for yourself and care for others. And in fact, caring for yourself allows you to care for others in a better way. When you're prioritizing yourself first, let's just say hypothetically, you might feel happier, more fulfilled. And as a result, this is going to reflect in the way that you treat others. So you're going to be maybe more attentive to their needs because you're feeling less resentful. Okay, and another common block or resistance that might come up is this feeling like I don't have time. I just don't have time to take care of myself. Like I work a full-time job. I'm a, full-time parent, or, whatever it is that your responsibilities are, feeling like I just do not have time to take care of myself. And to that, I challenge you with this. What is the cost of not taking care of yourself? And is it not true that you prioritize other people? You prioritize other people in your schedule. You prioritize taking care of your family members or children. And that's because you see those things as being important. So is it that you don't have time, or is it that you're unwilling or unable to make the time? I think this objection of I don't have enough time is often that you feel like you can't justify making the time for something. It all comes down to how important is this to you? How important is it for you to be a better employee and be more present in your life, or to be a better parent or a better partner? Once you can recognize the importance of making these changes and the importance of prioritizing yourself, then all you need is, 10 minutes a day to do a meditation or go for a walk around the block or do something that is going to be spending that time for you. And then over time, you can start to increase that time that you're spending for yourself, but just start off in small increments and see if that makes a difference. So before we get into talking more about how to prioritize yourself and your needs, I want to talk about an upcoming free challenge that I'm going to be hosting. And if you're listening to this podcast episode before Monday, April 26th, 2021, then you can still get in on it. So it is going to be a 5-day challenge that is going to help you finally relax and get relief from your high-functioning anxiety. So this all starts with learning how to relax and let go, and that is the theme for this challenge. So again, this is going to be a free challenge where I'm going to be providing you with video trainings and workbooks with journaling prompts. To learn more about it, you can go to calmlycoping.com/challenge. So now here are my practical tips for how to start prioritizing yourself. First, I have a few questions to ask you. So I want you to reflect on the decisions you make every day. Are you continuing to make decisions that don't serve you just because they're the same decisions that you've been making every day? Do you say yes to others before yourself? And do you check in with yourself and truly ask yourself, what is it that I need? What are my body and mind telling me in this moment? So those are just a few reflection questions, and now I have some practical tips for you. So like I said previously, set aside just 5 to 10 minutes daily to meditate, journal, or just check your internal weather pattern, just to check, and even do it right now. Just take a few seconds and check in with yourself and assess, how am I feeling right now? Am I holding on to tension in any areas of my body? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Are my thoughts all over the place? What's going on for you personally? And even if you set, let's say, an alarm on your phone where you just want to check in with yourself daily, or download an app like Dailyo, which is Daylio, that gives you that opportunity to check in with your mood and emotions daily, I think this can be a great practice to engage in. Tip number 2 to prioritize yourself first is to schedule self-care time in your calendar. So it's so easy to schedule meetings and plans with others, but when it comes to yourself, it's harder. So I've spoken to clients who have told me that it's so hard to say no to plans, even though they had wanted to take the day or evenings for themselves, because they feel like it's not a good enough reason. Why isn't it good enough? Your plans with yourself are just as important as your plans with others. And when you make excuses or you cancel them, then you're non-verbally communicating the message to yourself that my self-care isn't important, so I'll just keep putting it off and do it later. And this is not the message that you want to communicate, because this is going to result in resentment, overwhelm, burnout, anxiety, and frustration. So one practical thing you can do is to schedule self-care time in your calendar. So maybe it is one weekend a month that you take for self-care. Maybe it's one day a month or one evening, or maybe it's more regular. Maybe it's one evening a week, or maybe it's 30 minutes a day. Whatever it is that works for you, start small and see if you notice a difference. So I talked about guilt before. So another practical thing that you can do is to journal about the guilt and resistance that might come up to prioritizing yourself. So what are the excuses and objections that your mind brings up? So I want you to write those excuses down and really question them and assess how accurate are these thoughts. So one example might be, I feel guilty taking time for myself in the morning because I should be starting my work first. So what I want you to do is go through and question the thought and kind of have a conversation with yourself and ask, like, okay, how accurate is this thought? Am I exaggerating things? Is this factual? So I'm going to take you through this exercise with this specific thought. And then you can apply it to any thoughts or resistance that comes up for you. So that thought again was, I feel guilty taking time for myself in the morning because I should be starting my work first. So let's question that thought. So why is your work more important than taking time for yourself? And then you might answer that by saying, because I have a deadline coming up that's important. So let's question that. Won't taking time for yourself help you feel in a better mood and more focused at work? And maybe your answer is, yeah, that's probably true. I'm just scared that I won't feel motivated to start work. So let's question that. What if you set an alarm to start work at a specific time? So you answer, okay, I'll set an alarm after spending 20 to 30 minutes for myself in the morning. So now, after going through that process of just having this conversation with yourself, writing down in your journal back and forth, then you can rewrite that initial thought of, I feel guilty taking time for myself in the morning because I really should be starting my work first. That rewritten thought, after challenging and questioning those thoughts, can be, I deserve to take time for myself in the morning because it will help me feel in a better mood and be more focused at work so that I can get my project done on time. So that's just one example of how you can journal about and challenge that guilt and resistance that comes up for you. And my last practical tip would be to schedule an appointment with a therapist or a coach. So seeking out support for yourself is prioritizing yourself, and it's okay to need help on that journey. It can be so hard to ask for help, but it is so courageous and can be so rewarding and can allow you to make progress in a much quicker time than you might on your own. And it can also help to have that external perspective to allow you to see things that you may not notice in yourself. If you're ready to take the journey when it comes to high-functioning anxiety coaching, then you can go to calmlycoping.com/coaching to learn more about my VIP program. So your action tip for this episode is to take at least one of my tips and implement it starting today. It will only take about 5 to 10 minutes, and it isn't about doing it today and then stopping, but prioritizing yourself, and any act of self-improvement and growth comes about as a result of the small steps that you take every single day. And it is a cumulative effect, not a short-term one. So I'd love you to put this into action and let me know how it helps. I'd love to hear your feedback. So you can DM me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC or email me at tati@becalmwithtati.com and let me know. And if you found this podcast episode informative, then please leave me a review on iTunes letting me know your thoughts. And while you wait for next week's episode, I have other episodes about decreasing anxiety, adopting a healthy mindset, and managing your time and energy. Thanks so much for tuning in today. And until next time, be calm. Thanks so much for listening. If you like what you heard, please share this episode with a friend. And please subscribe and leave me a review on iTunes. Also, remember to check me out online at calmlycoping.com and connect with me on Instagram at TatianaGLPC. All content here is for informational purposes only. This content does not replace the professional judgment of your own mental health provider. Please consult a licensed mental health professional for all individual questions and issues. Till next time, I'm Tati, and this has been Calmly Coping.